What you doing, beloved?
Attention, attention, my black brothers. What I want y'all to do right now is take out the do-rag, the silky, tie it down. I want to see the waves glistening. If you got nappy hair, pick it. Don't let nobody discourage you.
Ariel.
Black boy, black boy.
Sis, does your first say Ohio?
Oh, bitch, yes it does. It's a little crop top I bought from H&M from the women's section. I love telling the girls I got it from the women's section because I did.
I was like, why is he wearing this? I was like, oh my God.
This is a crop top. By the way, I've acquired a gut in the last 2 months. It's amazing. Never really never fully had one. So
You said a gut?
I could see it when I put the crop top on. I said, oh, okay, got it. Lovely.
I've
to see it.
I've slimmed down, so my dad gut is no longer here due to the break that we had.
Look at this. Look.
Time. I don't know what
it's slipping away from me.
We have taken time away, but hello everyone. It is your boy Lord Davry.
And I'm Derwin King.
And welcome back to another episode of That Black Boy Joy, where we create a space where black boys can be themselves.
And so much goddamn more.
Wait, why did you say it like that? And I'm Derwin King. Why'd you say it like that?
It was indicative of my brain.
Oh, you have brain fart. You had a brain fart. Listen, oh my God, we haven't done this in forever. I think the last episode was with Hari.
Yes.
And that was
I'm
in
still
March.
really happy that they stopped by because, wow, what a moment that is most pleasing to me in my career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen their book all over social media still, like
I love it.
still moving and things like that. But yes, we took oh, my grammar. We took a break from each other, well, from the podcast, not from each other.
So we've seen each other a lot.
As per usual, and that was due to like mental health resets, which is always important, and also just needing to, take some time away. It is very much important, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody in between, to please take that time, and that's what we did. But we also decided to come back during Mental Health Awareness Month because our mental health and your mental health and everyone's around us is very important. So we said, why not come through this month, mommy, and talk about mental health awareness and our experiences with mental health. And just to give you all a disclaimer, we are not licensed social workers, therapists, psychiatrists, and all of that. So the information that we're giving you is based on the resources that we have researched and also our experiences. So please take it upon yourself to do your own research as well,
please,
about mental health.
Very important that you do that, honestly.
We are just a reference. We are not the source. Okay? But before we get into that hoopla and all of that stuff, not hoopla, the serious
Sounds like
stuff.
a lot of hoopla!
The serious stuff. We are going to do what we usually do, you all, and we're going to get into our Black Boy Joy Spotlight of the week. And this week's Black Boy Joy Spotlight my words. This week's Black Boy Joy Spotlight is a guy that goes by the name of Courtney Revolution. Courtney is an entertainment and podcast host, podcaster, and digital creator. He is currently known for being a contestant on the second season of the hit Netflix series The Circle. You can also check him out on the celebrity channel Hollywood Scoop. Holly Scoop.
Yes.
My grammar is all over the place. I'm getting really back into it.
Me too, honestly. No, seriously.
Yes. Courtney also created his own YouTube channel where he covers celebrity and entertainment news and reacts to new music and music video releases. His YouTube channel live show, The Green Chair Chats, recently celebrated its 1-year anniversary, and Courtney also co-hosts the podcast Overheard in the Pantry, where he discusses happenings in celebrity culture, the YouTube community, and more. So
nice.
I love this. Take two. I love Courtney because Courtney was I noticed him on The Circle, and he was just like so open with who he was. He was unapologetic, and I was just like, "Oh my God, one of
Yes,
our sisters."
representation. You know, I only saw the first episode, but I like what she's giving, you know? I
Yes,
love what she's putting down. I'm picking it up.
I'm not going to spoil how far he's gotten in the competition, but I would recommend you all to watch The Circle. It is an amazing show, and it's a great show to watch during lockdown, which the lockdown is like lifting up. So I don't know, but if you like,
Are you vaccinated?
yes, I'm vaccinated. I hate people ask this question because it's like the same thing when people ask top or bottom, and then the person has like a discrete answer that they want from you, and it's like if I tell you that I'm not vaccinated, and you'll be like, "Oh my
Look, Jay, like it is what it is. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. Nobody can make you. I'm just curious about whether you got your freedom papers or not.
I did get my freedom papers in Ohio. Sidebar: they're doing like a raffle for people
Yeah,
that
they're really
are
doing
vaccinated.
incentives. Yeah.
I was like, this is kind of sketchy. This is bribery at its finest. But
I mean, look. I don't blame anyone giving incentives for the vaccine, whether people want to do it or not. Which I totally stand by people not doing it if they don't want to, if they don't believe in doing vaccinations. That's completely fine. There's still people out here who've never been vaccinated for HPV, measles, all that good shit. But a good number of us need to be in order for us to get this under control. And I'm pretty sure most of us are tired of wearing masks. Some of us will never take our masks off the simple trauma of what we've been through.
I'm still wearing mine. So not in public, like in outdoors.
Outdoors, I'm not doing that. Look, so all the PG counties signs say masks required, or at least they did last week. And since the weekend, they've edited the signs. They didn't take the signs down. They like painted over them with like white paint. So instead of it saying masks required, it says masks up. So they like left the U in required and took that R and took the little slant on the R off so that it's a P. It literally just says masks
They
up.
said we are not about to
pay for shit. We're not wasting our money. We're not taking shit down.
They said we are not. You bet. I do the same thing. Recycle, reuse, repeat.
And they should. And I was like, oh damn, am I still supposed to be wearing this? And I was like, nah, nigga, you good. I'm good.
You good. But yeah, I did get. Yeah, I got vaccinated too. So we are vaccinated mommies. So, but yeah.
I know that's right.
Period. But yeah, that is the end of our Black Boy Joy Spotlight. Keep serving that Black Boy Joy magic, Courtney Revolution. And you all check them out on the second season of The Circle. All right, and now let's get into our rant, honey. Let's get into what's going on in the media. So really quick, this was a couple of weeks old, but we are here and we're like, why not discuss it? Porsha Williams is engaged to Real Housewives of Atlanta co-star Fallon's estranged husband after a month of dating.
I've had a lot of time to sit on this, so I'm actually glad that we're talking about it late because I have a lot of perspective on it now, including the fact that Porsha's got a 3 episode installment of a show of her life.
Yep.
So, and then also, now look, the internet is full of theories that are based on absolutely nothing, but a theory that I enjoyed, which will only be proven or disproven by whether this person ends up on the show or not. They said that Porsha's setting up an opportunity for Fallon to have a full storyline on the show, which it would absolutely do so, with that being a lot of drama and a easy beef between Porsha and Fallon, like literally so easy.
She's willing to
I don't know
her reputation.
I mean, well, first of all, she's willing to tarnish her reputation for a 3 installment show. So there's that. Let's not. Yeah. If she'll do it for a check, if she'll do that for a check, I'm sure she'd do it for another friend's check too. I wouldn't put it past her, you know.
Yeah.
But she says she and Fallon are not friends publicly. I think there's a lot of iffiness about this situation. Like, I was in a Clubhouse room and they dissected it. Oh, those birds sound so beautiful in your background.
Oh, yes. I have all my windows open.
It's nice. That really, I love that. I just want to take a second to acknowledge how beautiful that was for me. But they dissected her supposed relationship with her father, which we don't have a lot of information about her tendency to sort of like live in her own reality, which is true. I will say the one pattern I've watched Porsha establish from the time that she was on the show is dating men that she believes can take care of her.
Trash man.
And they're like all of them have been awful. I don't remember if Todd was awful. I think he was a little childish, but what I was shopping the other day and I was thinking about this, and I remembered that Todd was going to leave his job because they told him that he couldn't date Portia publicly and work where he was working because he had been on Instagram with her, without a shirt on.
That's
He was a
scandalous.
lobbyist, and they were like, we're conservative. This doesn't align with our views. If you're going to do those things, it needs to be behind closed doors with coke and strippers. But nonetheless, when he said that he was going to leave his job for her, she was like, no, why would you do that? How are you going to take care? Like, that's childish. Like, he was really about to put the stuff on the line for her. And she was like, if that's what you got to do, nigga, this ain't going to work.
She said, if that's what you got to do, first of all, let's not forget the coke and strippers part that you just...
No, because conservatives, that's what they do. Like,
Yeah,
they're not
they
about
do.
to let you do shit that makes them look like human beings. You need to look perfect. So then you need to do all of your trash ass shit and then some behind closed doors.
Yeah. I was just so shocked of this like announcement of like her being with, I think it's a story that was like portrayed. Regardless, we know that these girls really don't be friends. This is just how they say that they became a part of the show. I really honestly believe that Portia does not know Fallon at all from a grain of salt. I think it was just set up like that from the producers.
But so you don't think that she introduced her?
I think with the show, yes, but I don't think they were friends prior to the show.
Oh, okay.
I think they probably met during some scenes, and then they were like, okay, let's put these two together because they seemed like they were the most compatible. And
that's fine.
That's how it happened.
How did Kenya get up on there? Who was the lead in for her? Nobody.
I think it was Nene. I just say Nene led the pack.
That's so weird. I would never have expected that.
I think either Nene, or the producers. I think Nene or the producers just like added her to that. Because some people don't come on as friends of. I don't think like Candy didn't come on as friends of when she came on.
She just came. I think she was like Lisa Wu's kind of friend. I vaguely remember that actually.
Oh.
Yeah, Lisa Wu was the one that was introducing her to everybody. So
yeah. Well, I'm interested in this story that's unfolding with Portia, and I will be tuning in. I didn't watch the reunion just because I kind of was over the Bolo conversation and LaToya and Drew's bullshit. So I didn't watch it, but the season was lackluster anyway. So
I even though I didn't watch the season, I did end up looking at the reunion, and I wasn't impressed. The only time I was really happy was when Shamia had come out. And one thing about Shamia, when she comes on the reunion, she makes an impression. I really love her. That bitch is funny.
She's a friend of a friend.
I will never forget her telling Phaedra to stop getting her her plastic surgeries done from Groupon. She was just going back and forth with her, and I was like, wow, she's good.
Yeah, I don't know that much about Shamia, so whatever. All right. The Proud Family revival with Disney Plus adds Billy Porter, Zachary Quinto, and EJ Johnson to their character list. So Porter and Quinto will voice Randall and Barry Lebowitz Jenkins, or I
think it's Leibowitz. I think that's how you say that.
I think about the Lebowski, the great Lebowski, or whatever it was. Adopted parents to 14-year-old activist Maya, who was played by Keke Palmer. Johnson will portray Michael Collins, Penny Proud's best friend, who is described as a non-conforming trendsetter who serves up fierce looks both at school and on the basketball court or on the basketball team, either or. But I'm super excited that they are adding like this interracial. I am glad that they're at. I'm trying to be right. You
don't have to do that, and I'm not. I'm happy about Michael. Love Michael. Can't wait to see them flourish. I didn't realize it was the same Michael from before, so love it. I remember they called them a sissy. I don't know what their pronouns are right now, but when we last saw it was him. They called him a sissy, and I remember like really identifying with that character. So super excited to see them flourish. Don't give a fuck about the gay dads on that show for this very reason. Okay.
Yeah.
It is so interesting.
I'm tired of seeing the racial. I'm tired.
It's the Proud Family, right? Like by
Yes.
nature is a very diverse
Black.
show. And
Yeah.
it is just diverse in its nature. There are Latino people. There have been
Yeah.
Asians on the show, like regular
We've
characters.
had like Kwanzaa episode.
I think it was the
yeah.
Chain Triplets.
Yeah.
The Chain Triplets. Love them because they were.
She also did like I think she was a part of. She like did a what's it
Muslim
called?
Ramadan episode.
Yeah.
Like it's a diverse show, right? So and then you've got Zoe. Even though we've not seen a lot of Zoe's family, I don't understand why the first gay married couple on a show that is this diverse have wife, and I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm not even too like I'm not even saying it had to be two black ones, right? Like it could have been two Latino ones, two Asian ones. It could have been Asian black, Asian Latino.
Yeah.
It could have been two white men for all I give a fuck, you know? But like if there's something super specific about black and white people together, and I don't understand why the fuck it was necessary for the show.
Girl, I love Michael's character.
I'm tired of this shit. Ain't you tired, Miss Hilly?
I'm tired. Yeah, no, I definitely just don't get it. I just was like, why? Billy Porter, yes. Zachary Quinto, yes.
Oh,
Congratulations.
I love them. As actors, I'm super excited for them to have another working opportunity. I didn't need this.
I need them coupled up.
Didn't need it at all. Not even a little bit.
Also, Michael Collins' character's design to me now looks like Zaya Wade's.
Yeah. I love it.
Their look. So I was kind of like, yes, they went from a drastic one, which was I think was appropriate for the time when Michael had the hairband and the shirt off, but now Michael is non-conforming. Girl, who is that? That's you. Like
I'm trying to figure out how to silence this motherfucker. You know I ain't had this computer before.
Girl, okay, so you gotta do not disturb in the top corner. But
I thought I did.
We'll discuss that later.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I do believe this is going to come out in 2022, the season, so the reboot. So I'm super excited. All right, let's get into Pose. So Pose is back, season 3. It's final season. I really enjoy what they have been bringing to this to the scene, specifically Elektra's backstory and then also Billy Porter's backstory. So I love those two episodes.
Haven't gotten very far. I know that the most recent one was Billy's. I know the one before that was Elektra's. Right now, I'm still on episode 1.
Get off my line.
Listen, I don't know if you know, but I've been a very, very busy bitch lately.
Yeah, we also made our mental health. You know, we're checking in.
Oh, yeah, there's that too. Literally, I finished work and go and lay down so I can get myself together. I had to start ordering HelloFresh. Okay, that's besides the point. So Billy Porter recently shared, which I think is super monumental because he didn't have to, that he is HIV positive and has been for, what was it like?
15
years? Yeah.
15 years, yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting that he made that choice. I fully support sharing the story. I'm always really interested and really proud of people who don't have to share their experiences, but do, because I think it takes a special kind of strength in order to do that. And it literally is not required of you. Like it is, as a matter of fact, there are protections to make sure that people don't find out about your like health, your health in general, because it's a very private to each and every one of us. So anyone who can share their story, especially when there's so much stigma attached to it, I give love and praise to, because we all have a right to keep that information to ourselves, versus releasing it to the general public is what I mean.
Yeah. And I think it also came off the episode, as some people know, Pray Tell, Billy Porter's character, Pray Tell, is HIV positive. So
everyone should know that by now.
Yeah, if you watch the show. So it comes off of that story that he starts to go back home and talk about that. And it's a really great episode, but it was it was really dope to see him
I heard the actresses in that are like my favorite
Oh,
people.
they are. They are. It is. It is.
Is Jack A in there?
It's Jack A.
Ah!
Yes.
Sorry,
Miss
yo,
Jack A.
I stand.
Yeah. So I think this was very important too. Also want to go into Jeremy Pope, who plays Blanca's love interest. Also, just was on the cover of Out magazine, and was talking about his experiences being out and gay in Hollywood as well. Which, first of all, obsessed with Jeremy. First saw him in Choir Boy, which we talked about a couple episodes ago, and then Ain't Too Proud to Beg. And now seeing him a part, yes, and also seeing him a part of Hollywood with Ryan Murphy, and now seeing him a part of Pose. He's really like starting to just be this beacon of like black queerness. I didn't mean to say token, because when I say token, no, but
You usually say it, you mean it different.
Yes, this beacon. But I really enjoyed that it was Billy Porter's magazine, Jeremy Pope's magazine, and then also ASAP Rocky. They all were very feminine in this thing. However, the wording of like Billy Porter's this is what HIV positive look like was kind of weird to me though. I didn't
Well,
like
he
that.
said he was at his healthiest. I did see that. So I guess in order to change the and I mean, if you
Narrative.
when you look at Pose, a lot of those people are dying, which is what happened, but
Yeah.
it doesn't. This is a good image to combat what we've seen people dying of AIDS in that show, because the way that I've seen that depicted, which has been a lot across a lot of media, I think it is good to and responsible to show people living healthily, especially someone who is who has such a large platform as Billy Porter does and has worked very hard to get that platform. So I support that. Question for you. You mentioned ASAP Rocky. How long have he and Rihanna been dating?
Bitch. Nah, I don't know.
Why is nobody? Okay, so I saw.
I think they've been on and off. That's the thing about them. First of all, he's trash, and I don't continue to condone that nigga. But I think their relationship just has been like the most weirdest thing, because he also was dating a girl, like the model. I forgot who he was dating.
Was it a Jenner?
No,
it was a Hadid.
No, it was a black one. It was Jordan.
I'm gone.
Was it Jordan Dunn? No, I don't know. I don't know. But he was dating her, so now he like, this is the love of my life. I'm like, boy, shut your gay ass up.
Okay. So I was like, he's definitely queer, right? Like, there are confirmed stories of that man like fucking and sucking, man. That's the rumor mill. Let me not say confirmed stories, but that's what the
I was like, girl, you over here spreading tea.
No, that's what the internet said. The internet said that he was down, because they be having their little parties and no cell phones allowed and all that good shit. So that's when they really get to doing, what they be showing on the movies and the television shows. They all be fucking and sucking.
Okay.
They doing both. Shout out to Phaedra Parks Esquire.
Shout out to I want to specifically shout out to Billy Porter and Jeremy Pope's cover magazine covers. I'll give ASAP a little toot, but I just really appreciate seeing those two specifically. I'm in love with Jeremy. So Jeremy, I know I read that you are in a relationship, but if you are not in a relationship right now, I definitely can, hit me up. Bada bing, bada boom. All right.
With a white man.
What did you just say? What?
I wonder if he's with a white man.
Oh, I thought you said he was. I said, God.
We'll soon find out. Eventually, we'll have to find out, won't we?
So they said he was dating somebody on the research thing, but I couldn't find the person's picture. I couldn't, I did my stalking. I couldn't find any.
Okay, never mind. That's insensitive. I was going to be like, you want to put down a bet? No wagers. Let me not put wagers down on people.
Don't put no wagers in people's love life. All right. Moving on to our last.
Have done worse.
They have. We have on this show. I think we've also done kind of I think we outed people on here too, low key.
No, we don't know nobody. I don't know nobody to be outing. I could suspect now. I could raise suspicion, and that's completely fine. I don't have no problem with that. But I ain't never told nobody's tea when I know the tea. I don't know ASAP Rocky from nothing. So let's don't lie on me. Don't lie on me.
We do not confirm any sources that we put on here that we
I
do
just
not.
tell the people what I heard now. Allegedly.
Allegedly. We should. We
Shout
should
out to
actually
Bruce Jackson.
we should also like have the like a space or a segment called allegedly. For
We're
the
gonna have to pay him royalties for that. Every time I
Is
say
he
allegedly,
the first person
No.
that?
I just think of Bruce Jackson every time I say allegedly because he says it all the fucking time.
I
Do
don't
you know who
follow
that
him.
is?
Yes, I do. Okay, we'll talk
No.
offline.
I met Bruce Jackson in 2016. It was really interesting because I had already known about who he was
Yeah.
online. But like he was such a character. Me and my best friend Toya were out at town, and we were both wearing head wraps at the time. And he was like, "Oh, I got a head wrap crew," and the bitch, I have a picture
Aw.
of it, and I look a fucking mess. I was looking a mess, hot, and this nigga put a cup on his head and started dancing around, acting like the cup was a fucking head wrap. And then we took a picture together. So one day I'll show you that shit.
Oh, that's iconic. Okay, HBO was developing a scripted drama based on Arthur Elon Harris, Invisible Life. The plot
Arthur-
follows.
Author E. Lynn Harris.
Did I say that wrong again?
It's because you keep calling author his first name, but that's his title. So it's
Oh,
E.
I was
Lynn.
contemplating. I literally was like, I know it's Elon.
I know that. I saw it
E.
happen in your brain. I watched it as you did it.
Arthur Elon Harris's Invisible Life, which is a book that the plot follows an African American man's journey of sexual discovery, in which he realizes he is a homosexual. And this is what it says online. I do not speak
Fucking
like
word. He's a homosexual. He's a homo.
I actually read the book and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of like self-discovery that was happening in the book. And to me, I'm just like, girl, get it over with. Do it.
Wow, you read that? I think I read an Elin Harris book. I don't remember which one it was though.
Mhm.
I hope they do casting for that soon. I wanna do a
Please.
casting call for that.
Take me.
Make me a common sissy girl. I love it.
Maybe one of the gays. Put me in one of the clubs.
That's almost exactly what I want.
Put me
Or
in
just be
extra.
caught in the car, you know. They love doing that. I mean, what? I don't make this shit up. It be in the TV. I'm just telling you, they love putting us in cars, giving blowjobs and getting arrested and fucking in theaters. I'm not saying that this doesn't happen. It clearly does. They make this all, top of their heads, but
He's doing blowies in the back seat. He's giving blowies. Shout out to Bimini and all the girls on Drag Race UK for just giving me all these taglines that I literally started using. He's doing a blowy. He's giving a blowy. All right, y'all. Let's take a pause.
yeah, let's do that.
Let's breathe in and breathe out. All right. We are going to get into the meat and potatoes of why we are here today, and that is the conversation of mental health. And it is the month of mental health, which is May, and we wanted to dive into that conversation. Just to give you all another disclaimer is this may be a sensitive subject and topic, so there may be some emotions that will come and there might be some revelations that may happen for us. So please bear with us while we are collecting our thoughts through this process, because this is also maybe the first time we are talking about certain things or coming to revelation with that. So
I just figured out how to make this computer be quiet.
really, you found it.
It was the mute button. I thought it was going to stop you from talking, so I didn't want to push it, but I got it.
Oh,
Hey guys,
oh,
I know how to work my shit now.
yes. He interrupted me. So stop. I'm sweating.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You're fine. All right. Just to give you all a little bit of context, the purpose of Mental Health Awareness Month is to raise awareness and educate the public about mental illness, such as the 18.1% of Americans who suffer from depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder, the realities of living with these conditions and strategies for obtaining mental health awareness is very important, and it is vital in our everyday lives. The reason we are starting to talk about mental health awareness is the importance of talking about mental health cannot be overstressed. We want people to understand the benefits of talking about mental health and encourage people to talk openly about mental health. So what we first need to do is remove the stigma. understand that mental health disorders are growing, and also promote treatment and decrease rates of suicide. So those are three topics and three main points that people are very much making aware in this conversation of mental health awareness. Though it is, of course, more, but definitely the importance right now, or the importance that people tend to lead into, is removing the stigma, mental health disorders that are growing, and that promoting treatment and decreasing the rates of suicide. So that was a little bit information about that. Also, if you all would like to read more about this, is it the CD? Oh my God, I don't want to say the CDC, child. I think. Let me make sure. Hold on. Let me pull my resources. Yes, the CDC. Please learn about mental health through the CDC as well. So let's get into the conversation of why we are discussing mental health. And do you want to start off? Do you want to
Sure.
discuss something?
Do we want to talk about our experiences first or just overall?
Yes.
Well,
Sorry.
actually, you know what? One of the things I wanted to start with first is like why I think it's important that we have this conversation. I think we tend to be really careless about the way we talk about mental health. And then even though I'm really proud of the like societal shift that we're making into discussing this more often, I still think that there's a lot more nuance needed and a lot more course correction required.
Yeah.
I know that the first problem is that we talk about mental health issues in our everyday language in a way that minimizes them,
Hmm.
and that makes it seem like they aren't as serious as they are. So when I think about this, I think about like bipolar disorder, right?
Yeah.
Like anyone who knows any real information about bipolar disorder realizes that this is like a really scary experience, that people experience psychosis, that people go on like mania can really destroy a person's life because they're doing things like joyriding and spending money they don't have, and doing awful things to the people that they love, right? Like just doing really off the wall shit, and they just can't control it.
Hmm.
And then the other side of that is like this depression, but people will like be like, oh, blah, 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 is bipolar off of the strength of like, they don't deal with their emotions well, which is like,
Hmm.
can completely be true about a person who's not mentally ill. Like if they
Hmm.
are just emotionally immature, right? Or they'll attribute bipolar disorder to like inanimate objects. So like if my computer doesn't work, they'll say things like,
Hmm.
oh, my computer is being bipolar, which is really like insulting to people who actually have the disorder,
Yeah.
myself included, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Hmm.
And then also we talk about depression as if it's sadness, versus like a debilitating like just darkness, right? Or this thing that causes a shift in your body so that it
Yeah.
doesn't simply manifest in your brain, but that it actually starts to manifest in your physical health.
Hmm.
And then finally that because it's not something that we can physically see, which I know people say this all the time, but I want to reiterate that we really underestimate its effect on our everyday lives.
Yeah.
And that means that we don't really understand or recognize all the lengths one has to go through in order to rectify or mend or manage their experiences with mental illness. So that's why I think it's important, of course, to remove stigma, but also just like I think if we clean up our language around mental illness, there a lot of people will heal, and a lot of people will be able to see their own experiences with mental illness too. It'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so even though I don't experience psychosis, right? I can
Yeah.
say that I've had this experience with mental illness in this way because someone else explained it in a really responsible and honest and vulnerable way.
Yeah. I think for me, I think the importance of also knowing that some of the mental health can be a combination of so many things. So
Hmm.
you can have depression, you can have anxiety, you can have schizophrenia. All of these are encompassing of one. And I think that being able to differentiate and understand your physical symptoms and psychological symptoms, and be able to understand how to navigate these appropriately without, unfortunately, believing that suicide is the only resort to relieving your stress. I think that is something that is very important in this conversation. And also understanding that if left untreated, some of the mental health can lead to physical illnesses as well. So sometimes you may have like cardiovascular disease if you like are depressed and you sit around and like eat or not remain physically active. And just knowing that these mental health is a series of our physical health, and understanding that we need to, the same way people are like, oh, we need to, make sure we are fine on the outside, we need to make sure that we are fine on the inside as well. And also allow for people to have these conversations in these spaces of vulnerability to say, hey, I'm not okay today. Or, hey, I think I need some time to, figure out some things right now because I am going through a moment of depression, or I'm going through a moment of anxiety, and really allowing people to be vulnerable and transparent in that space, and not be like, oh, you're just, get over that, or, oh, that's just something that's going on in your head that you can get over, which is really not always the case. It's not just like I can wake up and just cure my depression or my anxiety. There are practices that need to be implemented long term.
And sometimes
So
medication is required. I
yes,
think you make a really good point, and that's something I really want to tackle. Because I think people who think being full can contribute to this conversation in a really harmful way. Because while it is true that recognizing that you're on a path to depression um, means that you can, implement these interventions
yeah,
in order to stop it from getting really dark. Sometimes it hits you harder than you think it will, and out of the blue. Because the thing about it is, like, a
ooh,
lot of times we can manage it. We can figure out how to manage it. But
high
there are going to be
functioning.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Or there can be times when simply, like, because this is a part of life, you just really fall down and you kind of just like got to pick yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think people miss often the chemical imbalance. Like, I think what people often miss about having a bad day and like being sad because of that, or being in a funk versus being in a depression, they miss the nuance there, that there is a scientific like part of that. Like, there is an imbalance in the brain. The brain is not
Yeah.
pumping out enough of a certain type of chemical, right?
Yeah.
So people will tell someone who is mentally ill because of a chemical imbalance that their thoughts are the problem and that they are not working hard enough to change their thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
when the reality is that for a lot of people who are severe, like clinically mentally ill, the treatment is not just cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what they're
Yeah.
talking about, but also the medication aspect to actually get the brain to do what it's
Yeah.
supposed to do.
I think also having the conversation and remembering to, like, I think the conversation of like being okay with medication is something that's very essential. And then also like not self medicating, right? Because I think that I've had people have those conversations like, oh, you're just tired, go take a drink, or, go smoke, or go do something. And I'm like, okay, but like when you do those things and you rely on these things to numb you more so, that can take you down a spiral as well. Like
Yeah.
if I'm having a really bad day and I always resort to drinking, that may become a problem in that space, which is that the medication, may be more essential than you self-medicating, which can lead you down a spiral. But that, do you want to? Oh,
Yeah, well, that was going to lead me to my own personal
yeah.
experience with mental illness.
Whew.
So I think the first time that I can say that I was depressed, in hindsight, I didn't know it then, was when I was really young, probably around 8 years old. By that point, I had already experienced a severe amount of like bullying, and just a couple of experiences, I think, that just didn't make me feel like safe in the world in
Yeah.
general. And so I can remember writing like a note on just being sad and not really having anyone to talk to about it or thinking anyone will understand. And I wrote like some note like, I'm gonna kill myself or something like that. And
Right.
like left it somewhere, and someone was like, you want attention, which might have also been true at the time.
Oh, I hate that.
I was 8, so I think two things can be true at once. Like, I'm sad, and yeah, I want someone to like help me because I'm sad, And yeah, so I do want attention. But that depression kind of started to morph into this more mysterious entity and this like thing of its own. Because
Yeah.
before it was just like sometimes I'm sad, but the older I got, it would mean that I would isolate. and that like I would spend a lot of time alone in my room, and I would turn the music all the way up, and I would just sob. And it was a combination of battling with my sexuality, and then also clearly there being something wrong, or something imbalanced, I should say. And I remember my mom used to be like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you up there making all that noise?" And I'm like, "This is like how I feel inside. Like my music blasting is this sort of," and I couldn't explain it then, but it was like this way of me exercising all the angst and sadness that was inside of me, because somewhere inside I was just like breaking down. So, fast forward, I get the hell out of the Eastern Shore, because at this point it's like I've got to recalibrate. So I get to school, and immediately I'm looking into school counseling. The minute that they said the school counselor, like this is college, that the school counselor was free, I was like, cool, I'm signing up ASAP. I mean, first or second week I was going to the counselor. I was so nervous though. I always knew that I needed a therapist. I always wanted a therapist, always felt too broke to get a therapist. When I was little, I was really like, we can't afford me to do therapy, so I just came. So you think like, I spent probably 8 years knowing that I needed someone to talk to, and feeling like there was literally like no one. And I think I had formed into this person by the time I was 17, that my resolution, I know I've said this before, was that I would just be alone for the rest of my life, because of battling like religion and my sexuality. And my therapist was the first person to tell me that that was not going to work for me. But we go through, I used therapy when I need it. I think the first time that I knew I was actively in a depression was in my freshman year, spring semester. I had gotten into a fight with my sister. It resulted in me being outed. Oh wow. Yeah, it was a lot. My roommate, who I had come into this college experience with, left. He was gone. I mean, he did not tell me he wasn't coming back. He just didn't. So I looked up and I was like, hey, we had classes like registered together and everything. And he was just like gone. So suddenly I'm in this space by myself, and it didn't hit me at the time, because I had been telling myself that I didn't really need people, that like that shit was really, really like, that broke my heart. Like, this is my friend. This is like the first friend I made here. And a couple of my other friends had gone, like either for various reasons. The majority of the people that I had come into Randolph-Macon with like were gone. So my grade slipped. I had like a 3.8 fall semester of Randolph-Macon. Thank you very much. I worked my ass off. And I fell down to like I think that following semester I might have had a 3.0 like for the semester. So the rest of my college experience, I was at like a 3.2, 3.3 area. Which could have been higher if I had just gotten through spring semester. We're gonna leave that where it is.
We're gonna leave that there.
But you fast forward through college. I have several bouts of depression throughout that, but I don't think anything more than I'd be sad. I'm a sad nigga. But when you get out into the real world, right? Like after I had come to terms with my mortality, which was senior year of college, and I realized I was going out into the world, and that there was no bubble there, and that there was no standard protection mechanism, I got really worried. So I started seeing the counselor for that transition, and she was reassuring me things would be fine. I had that regular old depression you get after you graduate, the one that everyone knows about, and I thought that shit was gonna end, but it didn't. And I got a job, and it continued. And it continued. And I was working, and I was so sad that I got to say for probably, if not a full year, for like 8 months, I would leave work and come home and drink. And it had gotten to the point where I would demolish like big ass bottles, like before I got just to get ready for the next day. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then one day I was driving, and my brain was like, this has to end. And I just wanted to, and I remember vividly picturing taking the car that I was driving and just like violently turning it off the road, and that just being that. And I was like, this is not okay. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. So I went to the doctor, scheduled an appointment. I let them know. They scheduled me with a psychiatrist, and I go see the psychiatrist. And that was when I learned in 2017 that I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder. So the difference between bipolar disorder and bipolar 2 disorder is characterized by the mania. So for bipolar disorder, it's the way that I explained mania earlier with joyrides and things like that. It's just one of my favorite examples. Hypomania is a less severe version of that, where you're going to get high executive function. You're going to have like super joyful moods. I personally love hypomania, and apparently a lot of people who are diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, they love it because you get a lot done. You're really creative. You confident. You do require less sleep. You just feel like you can do anything. And honestly, like physically, or I should say practically, you can. Like, you can do damn near anything you think of. But the problem is that the drop down is super severe, and that depression is heavy. I mean, I think Jennifer Lewis describes it as like sitting in a dark room, and it's like daily. It does not end for a while, and you wonder if you're ever going to be able to climb yourself out of it. And when you do, it's like, okay, cool, I made it, right? But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this could happen again.
Wow.
And I think even after I had been diagnosed, that there were 2.5, maybe 3 years that I went like not medicated. Like, I had gone from, I want to say 2018 to last year without taking any medication at all. And the way that life was so stressful and just pulled me in so many different directions. And I made a lot of mistakes, not those regular 20-year-old mistakes. I made some fucking mistakes. And then you saw me last year when I first started taking medication, and like, I was like thriving. And that isn't to say that I'm not now. But you know, there are ups and downs to this. You think when you're diagnosed and you have treatment, right? You've got therapy and you've got medication. You think this is it. I've solved my problem. I'm healed. And the reality is that that is so far from the truth. Healing is not linear, and your problem is not solved. You just have a lot of help now.
With me, child, first of all, I'm great at covering up my moods or my like mental health for a while. I think that was something I was very great at. I was very great at numbing myself, like through video games or like distractors or just being around people, but not really coming to realization with the things that I really needed to address. And that wasn't until actually I was faced with being like living on my own during a pandemic. Was really something that made me start to talk about with myself or with others, like anxiety and all of those things. And it wasn't until recently when I had my first episode of panic, my first panic attack. And I had my first panic attack, and I want to say about like in like December. I remember vividly when it happened. I remember the conversation I had with myself, and after that, where I am now. I also knew I needed a therapist, but like you said, really knew I didn't feel like I could afford one. Didn't really know how to navigate that conversation. Didn't understand the trust that I needed to build with them. But it wasn't until the pandemic I had my first like actual therapist. And when I met my therapist, I wasn't really utilizing that space to talk about my mental health or things. It was just very surface level. And it wasn't until December when I started to really like start to really have these conversations with myself, therefore leading to my first panic attack. And after that first panic attack, I started to have more panic attacks frequently. So with panic attacks, those are more so you are taking on physical symptoms that you believe. How do I explain this? So panic attacks, you basically are um, exhibiting high heart rate, heart palpitations, sweating, impending doom, um, a lot of physical feelings that you are happening like that can be similar to a heart attack, but
Yeah, does it
not.
feel like you're dying? Does it
Yes,
feel like you're
it
dying?
feels it feels like you're ultimately dying
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
So just that's to sum it up. And that was the most weirdest thing I had never experienced. And I was like, oh, I was just high, bada bing, bada boom. The first time I won't smoke, and then the second one happened. I was like, oh, girl, I didn't even smoke, right? I didn't do this or not. So went to my doctor, and I was diagnosed with panic disorder, anxiety, and depression. And with panic disorder, when I start to have anxiety now, or when I start to get too far into my depression, I will have an episode where I can't breathe, or I am having trouble trying to like function. Like I get blurry, I get like all types of things, and it is like the worst feeling ever. And I do not recommend it to anybody like who has panic attacks because it really makes you disassociate from the world. It makes you feel like you are literally like dying as you speak. And it was something that I was very, it was something I just, it was something that was very debilitating to me because I literally would have these moments at the most randomest times.
Yep.
I could be in the middle of a conversation with Devin and I'm over here, trying to catch my breath or something of that nature. And then therefore I'm in a panic episode. Or if I'm driving and I have anxiety about like, oh, what if somebody hits me? Or what if I'm like driving the wrong way or something of that nature? My anxiety has now got to the point where I'm having a panic attack. So it really would just come out of nowhere as sometimes if I didn't have it under control. And that was something that was really hard for me to discuss with my friends and my family because I didn't want people to think, and this is me transparent, I didn't want people to think it was anything wrong with me. I didn't really want people to think there was a problem.
Oh,
And I also had,
that's it.
right. I didn't want people to think like, oh, Devery needs help or Devery needs this and that. And it was
Or
really
Devery
also
is weak.
Or Devery is weak because it was nothing I had never shown this moments of vulnerability and all that. And it also went into the conversation of medication that I like took a while for me to decide if I was going to go forth with taking medication for my anxiety and my depression or not, which I believe that medication is something that is needed for most. I'm not going to say not all, but I'm definitely going to say for most. And I highly recommend you doing your research on medication if you decide
Your
to
therapist
do it.
might be like, people commonly get people at like, because my therapist was like, I can't tell you you need medication because I'm not a psychiatrist, but a lot of people who experience this the way that you are end up on medication. So that was the way that it was explained or recommended to me.
Yeah. And it was something that literally, it just took a toll, right? Like that moment of not knowing what was happening with my body mentally, physically, and emotionally really detached me from a lot of people. I remember I went through for I think a month and some change where I did not talk to people. I battled with a small eating disorder where therefore I was afraid of certain things that would trigger my panic attacks. So I would limit my intake of food, which therefore I started to lose weight. And also just like my relationships with people and certain things I would try to avoid so that I wouldn't have a panic attack. And I think that was something that was very challenging for me because I'm very social. I'm very open and talking to people. And I love that. And the fact that I was recluding myself away from others out of fear that I might have an episode was really challenging because I had not grasped what was still happening with me, how to overcome it and things of that nature. So it took a toll. It took some.
No,
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about support. What did that look like for you?
So support, I think, was when I first had an episode in front of two of my friends. I did not tell them what was happening with me. They did not know what the case was. And I had an episode in front of two friends and they were very supportive. It was the most weirdest thing. They didn't like rush me to the hospital. They didn't like, It was the
weird.
weirdest thing to me because like I was like, I thought y'all were gonna think I was crazy. I thought y'all were gonna think that something was wrong with me. I'm
No,
literally having
people
an
love
anxiety
you.
attack. Right. I was like, what in the world? And my friend was like, just put your hands up in the air. Think about what happens with me is when I go too far into the present or too far into the past, I provoke my anxiety. So my friends are always reminding me to stay focused, like on what's happening right now. What do you feel? What do you see and all those things. So when I had that conversation when I had those moments with my friends, I think that was the pivot. That was the start of me starting to like be like, okay, let me start to invite people into this circle and this conversation so that I can have healthy support and dialogue so that I can get on the road to recovery. Like you said, I was thinking it was something I could like overcome like this, right? It's not something I can overcome like this. It is going to take a journey. It's going to take a process. And that is something that I am really learning right now and really evaluating. And I think if I didn't have this moment happen to me right now, I think that I would still be pretending like everything is fine with me. And God
Mhm.
knows who or where I would be right now if I did not have guidance and support throughout this. My parents have supported me through this, and this is all relatively new. Like I said, my experience is coming from something I just was diagnosed with, whereas Devin's is something that he's been working through for quite some time, still navigating it, of course, but it still has some years under his belt.
I'm a seasoned ill child.
And for me, I'm over here like, child, I don't know what's going on. So I think my support system, I really became really connected with at this time and really like proud of. I remember with you, I had an episode hanging out with you and Omar, and you exactly knew what was happening.
Yeah,
You knew I was not I was
you
disconnected.
abruptly were like,
I abruptly left. I
I
left.
gotta
I said,
go.
I gotta go. And you texted me, was like, hey, Dev, are you good? What's going on? And are you okay? Like, 'cause I think I told you about it. Cause I've had an episode during the podcast as well, which Devin has been so gracious to continue or know the
Gracious.
signs. Not gracious, but you've like just been a great sister to like
I'm
help.
glad, but that is literally like what I'm here for.
Right. But yeah, like it is something that like I'm still grappling with. I'm still learning the coping mechanisms. I'm still learning all of these things about myself and about my anxiety, and about my depression, about my triggers and my not triggers. There's moments when I'm feeling great, wonderful, and grand, and there's moments when I'm literally at my lowest and like I probably could have
Mm,
multiple panic attacks in one day, which your panic attacks can last up to like 10 minutes, up to 5 to 10 minutes, or it can last
yeah.
for a while.
You don't
And
have
if
to share, but do you know what your triggers are?
I have health anxiety. And with health anxiety, I think I am always ill. I think that I could have cancer one day. I think that I could have a blood clot. I think that I could have a aneurysm. I think that I could have a lot of things that like a combination of stuff. So I think that I have gotten to a point where like I sometimes Google too much. Right? I like, oh, I have an ache in my body right now. I'll Google and Google tell me, damn near you are dead.
Been there, been there. I've diagnosed myself with several types of cancer. I've
Yeah.
only just now gotten to a point where I'm like, don't think that like chances are, because I'm sure you are
Yeah.
as well. You're a healthy person, so the chances are
Hmm.
the mildest thing that it could be is probably where you are.
Yeah, it is that. And then also what happens is I'm a very frequent guest of the emergency room,
Oh man, look at them
which
bills.
my benefits has helped me
Ah,
tremendously. However,
vagina.
however, you can sometimes unfortunately ruin a relationship with your doctor, or not ruin it, but like strain it. Like they believe that you're always coming in with a problem or you're spending money
Like the
just
boy
to
who
get
cried
like,
wolf.
yeah, like you're getting CAT scans or you're getting like all these tests done on you and you're perfectly fine. Or at the emergency room, you're rushing yourself to the emergency room all the time. So you're literally in there getting all of these work done. And then at the end of it, you're coming out perfectly fine or not at the space where you need to be at the hospital. And you did have thus this big bill. So that was something I was definitely experiencing. I think also like I have a fear of death as well. Like my anxiety is like
Wow.
mortality is like scary to me right now. Like
Yeah. Especially the first time you really like when the first
first,
time you think of mortality and yourself like
yes,
together, it's like,
yes.
oh shit.
So like driving, I could have anxiety because I'm like having to watch what is happening around me, what I'm intaking in my body. Like, is it going to thus far? give me a heart attack or a seizure or something of that nature. Just a lot of things. I don't have social anxiety, but I definitely have anxiety with my health and also like the mortality, which, so girl, it's crazy. It's crazy. So
And death is only scary because
yeah.
we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen afterwards. That's all. I realize that regularly. I'm like, oh, that's what it is. Like,
Yeah.
but I think if you just convince yourself that it's not going to be terrible, you might be able to get through it.
You know, and I think that is something as well for me. I think one thing I've tried to learn and talk to my therapist about is, you're not in control of everything.
Yeah, we
You know,
aren't.
like unfortunately, some things happen that are in your control and some things that are not. So you have to understand what you can control and what you cannot. And once you start to know what you can control, sometimes your anxiety and depression can be relieved.
Yeah.
Also,
Go.
another thing, also another thing for me is with my panic attacks, knowing the difference between those and jotting down the symptoms that you have and how severe they are so that you know what you're experiencing so that you don't take yourself to the hospital like I did a lot.
What about your 5 senses thing?
My 5 senses thing, So another thing, a lot of coping mechanisms that I've learned is the first one is you're not having a heart attack if you're able to like feel all of your symptoms at the time, take yourself to the hospital, call your friends and tell them that you're having a heart attack. You're not having a heart attack. You would not be able to function. You would not be able to do none of that. Second of all, one of my friends taught me that to get through a panic attack, you have to be brought back to the present. So you need to do this thing where you have to identify senses. So, okay, while you're having your panic attack, tell me what you are smelling right now. Tell me what you are seeing right now. Tell me what you can feel right now. Because all of these things are present and all of these things are in the space right now. For me, if it gets severe, I get a piece of ice and I hold on to a piece of ice to focus all of my attention on that, or I chew on a piece of ice, which sometimes I hate that bitch because I'll be like, I can't breathe. Why can I chew? I'm choking. I'm about to die. And then another one is also like deep breathing. Like I don't want to stress enough that we need to breathe deeper and more thoughtful throughout our day. That has helped me tremendously, and I did not know I wasn't breathing enough.
Oh, it'll get you through a lot of shit. That's why they tell, you know what? I think one of the most painful experiences that a human being will go through, and only a certain number of the population will, is women giving birth. And I believe that they say, obviously they tell them to breathe through it. And I do believe that like focusing on the breath takes like at least the edge off.
Yeah.
So it is so true. We don't think about how effective breathing can be. And that is in any stressful, sad, any sort of like, whenever I feel a rush of emotions, for instance, and I'm afraid that I'm going to like release them in a really dangerous way, and maybe not dangerous to other people, but like just not helpful to me.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, and anything that I'm trying to take in, I think I've done it on the show a couple times, and something really hits me, I'm like, just kind of like let it wash over you, let it pass, let it just as quickly as you can get the breath in and out. That thing, that trigger, that stimuli, it goes along with it.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I think just also a couple of things. Two more things is really, well, not two, but like more. Really like getting into this kind of yoga, right? Getting into yoga is something that also has helped me battle with my anxiety and depression because you have to focus on the moment, in the present, and your breath. And then also meditation. I know meditation, it sounds like what in the world is that? But however,
it's hard.
When you learn how to meditate and what meditation actually encompasses, it will be the best thing in the world.
Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know how many minutes I have or hours I have in my meditation class, but I'll be in that bitch. Namaste, honey.
I know that's right. And to clarify, it's not that it's hard. It's that like you think you're not doing it when you are.
Yeah.
Because like it is difficult to quiet your mind. But trying to meditate is meditating because you have to build up your ability to do that, and you really have to train yourself to see thoughts and let them pass. And doing that is a really interesting skill. But
it's because you're also in a space where you have to be with yourself. a lot of times we are trying to run away from who we are. And with yoga, you're literally, it's to me, I'm always inside chat. Like we are at a desk and we are sitting down and we like, girl, what we doing today? What's It's like I'm doing therapy with myself,
Yeah.
but it's like also sometimes I just sit with myself and breathe. There's moments when I'm like
Do
doing
you
things, but then other moments I'm like breathing.
do you do guided meditation?
I do. I started off with guided meditation for like 5 minutes and then bumped up to like 10 to 15. But now I am on my third like session where I am not guided. And I do 20 minutes every morning. So I am sitting there I have music, like I have like a guided, music, but it's not nobody speaking anymore because I've like mastered, quote
Yeah.
unquote, I've mastered that technique.
The first time I tried to the first
Tell
time
us about that.
the first time I tried to meditate was my sophomore year of college. Around the time that I started realizing like I was a really sad person, like all the time. And I made up my own mantra, and I would sit in the middle of my dorm room floor and just like repeatedly breathe and say the mantra like over and over and over and over again, in the hopes that I would like quiet the mind. Actually got pretty good at it, but my
Yeah.
problem, which I think a lot of people can have this problem with, is it really takes the same way that people like go to the gym like daily. It takes a special kind of dedication to meditate, and it's really easy to fall off of that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
like every time I do fall off of meditating, I do notice like there's a shift in my ability to cope.
Yes.
So it's like much like taking medication regularly. It's the thing that it is a medication, so you do have to like
Yes.
actually prescribe like
And there's days when it's good, when you have a good day of meditation. There's days when your mind is racing, when you get into meditation and you start to get into this mindfulness practice, you understand and you start to realize that it's a journey,
Yeah.
and that moments may be bad or may be good. So I think that is something that is helpful for me with mental health, and my new becomings of that. Also, Instagram, like I follow so many people that like relate, that understand. When you find people that have went through the experiences that you are going through right now as well, that is also like, I am not alone. Well, like shout out to the health_anxiety chick. Like, I mean, health_anxiety on Instagram. I love her because she literally goes through. I used to be afraid because though she has a podcast called The Health Anxiety Chicks.
Oh, okay.
That's why. But I literally used to I used to hate when my heart rate like got too high. Like when I was working out, I'd be like, oh my God, what is it? Which is your heart rate is supposed to be
Yeah.
strengthening it. By the way,
Stimulated.
but I used to be like, oh my God, y'all.
I'm gonna die. I'm running. I'm gonna die.
Like,
Poor baby.
why would your heart be at like 90 when you are running? Absolutely not. But yeah, those are my girls.
Look, part of the journey to recovery for any of us who are battling with mental health is you realize you have to come to a point where you're like, what is reality and what is my feeling, right? Which doesn't mean that your feelings are invalid, but that just because you feel something doesn't mean that it is like a reality, or that it is, and because it's hard to hear that without thinking my emotions are not real and therefore like I'm wrong, right? The best way I think that we can put it is the feeling of anxiety. I feel like I'm dying, right? Like that's what all of these symptoms feel like, but the reality is that you're not. Like your heart is pounding a lot, but you're not like losing, your ability
oxygen,
to speak, or like, your access to oxygen is available. You might be constricting it, but you are not in physical danger. When we start to feel things like when we're in the fight or flight mode, no matter what that response looks like, it is because our brain is saying, I'm in danger, like there's a threat. But there may not
releases
be an
those chemicals.
Threat. And that's the point. That's when we say like feelings versus fact. It isn't about whether you are it isn't just about you like creating this issue inside of yourself, but that like it is important to recognize the physical reality around you.
Yeah,
it so like that you can come back.
Yeah, sometimes your brain releases like chemicals in that space of fight or flight. Like you could be sitting still and you've thought about something or something has like made it triggered your release of those chemicals, and now you're in that response to a panic attack because your brain has thought has you have cultivated this notion that you're in that moment, which is very something I had to learn. I had to understand very much a lot of like what that is and what is happening, because child, I was like, girl, I ain't fighting nobody. But when your anxiety, when
Yeah,
you
you'd be
think
like,
you are,
bitch, who wanted with lean?
and it's me. And it is me. But I definitely, were you about to say something before I shot off some resources?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that, like, yeah, my support has looked like
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry, sister. Yes.
no problem. My support has looked like therapy. There are certain people I know I can talk to. There are people who are still learning about how this affects me, or how this affects people in general. I had to do a lot of research about bipolar disorder because there's like
Yeah.
no one in my life who is well informed about it. And even when I'm talking to my psychiatrist, like she's not giving all the information about it. So I went out and did a ton of research just about how it affects. And I think what is good about doing the research is you do start to find people who have stories similar to yours, and it really starts to make you feel less alone and less
Yes.
like an oddball, because I know I felt wrong. I don't know how a better way to put it than the fact that I felt like I was in my existence wrong, and seeing other people experience that made me feel like, okay, this is a thing that happens to people. This is not
Yeah.
specific to me, and I'm not defective. That's the word I'm looking for. You're
Oh,
not
I like that.
defective. You're not defective. I would because in my mind I'm thinking like I can't do things, like because when you're depressed, like your cognitive functioning like really decreases. Like it's difficult to speak. It's difficult when I'm depressed. I can barely speak a word of Spanish, and it's so embarrassing because I'm telling people, yeah, like I speak this, like I can do this. I've lived in a Spanish speaking country and it was fine. But when I am depressed, it is difficult to remember like things that happened 5 minutes ago, and it's so hard
Child.
to get people to understand that. And I feel sometimes when I'm depressed, like I am a dud. That's the word. Those are the words I've used against myself. Today I had to catch myself with that shit. And it's an awful place to be in. So I did the research to see that other people experience this, and this is an actual symptom. So no, you're not a dud. No, you're not defective. This thing is literally affecting you in this way. And important thing to remember, who you are. Find your way back. Like
Find your way back.
we lose ourselves because of this. It is so, Lord Jesus, it is so easy to lose yourself because of a mental health struggle. It's so easy to forget who you are, to forget the things that you've done, to forget the love that you have and the love that you are, all the ways that you have been a blessing to yourself and to others. It just goes out the window.
Yeah.
And so another resource for me, another support, is just coming back to the reality that like I am love, and like when I'm at my best, I love myself and I love everyone around me. And that is the one thing I think that can at least get me to the window, or like to that little one speck where the light shines through the wall, and like so I can tunnel my way out. But since we're on resources, go ahead.
Well, really quick before that, because I don't want to like really rush, like call a friend, right? When you have those moments that you trust, that somebody that you've been through this experience with, they know how to help you through this space. Really cultivate a relationship with somebody that you will help you through that moment. I think that is always helpful. When I'm at my lowest, or when I'm at one of those moments where I just don't want to get out the bed or anything, like do that. For if it is something that is more severe, more serious, the suicide prevention lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, if you know someone or you are someone who has contemplated or are thinking about suicide, definitely call the suicide prevention hotline at 1-800-273-8255.
You can also text it. You go text hello, HELLO, to the number 741-741.
Yes, please. I always just want to emphasize resources. Look into resources, look into treatments, look into all of those things. Things do get better. I know it does not feel like it does. And trust me, like I said, I have moments when days when I'm just like, girl, when am I going to get out of my moment? When am I going to get out of my moods? But understand that you have support. You're not the only one. And
day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute. And when shit's really bad, you really do got to go minute by minute. But what's important to remember is that the biggest danger, and like, it's easy for us to feel like whatever we're feeling is like the worst possible thing that we can go through, but really it would be death. So like the fact that you're breathing, that you are here and you are, alive means that there's hope.
yeah.
And that isn't to say, to fear death, but to remember that if you're not actively dying, there is hope.
It is.
I hope that makes sense without being contradictory. I really hope so.
No, I think it makes total sense. I think that is that. But yes, before we close out, just another reminder, this is our experiences with mental health. This is our journey with it, the resources the tools that we have provided for ourselves. Everyone else is different. So please find the resources for you. Please talk to a medical, it's not, what am I trying to say, brain fart? A licensed psychologist, psychiatrist, all of those things as well for more information that is backed with more sources and reliable information that may be best suitable for you. But like we always do when we end off on our shows, I had a brain fart, brain zap. If you want to continue the conversation with me about mental health or anything of that nature, you can hit me up on my Instagram and Twitter at _Lord Every. That is _LORDEVERY on Instagram and Twitter. That's it.
As of right now, all of my social media accounts are disabled.
That's understandable.
However, when they're back, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Derwin King, DERWINKING, and on Twitter at Free Negro. That's FREENEGREAUX.
If y'all send me anything that y'all want to Devin, I'll let him know, and I'll be the relayer of messengers for you. And then if you all would like to continue the conversation with the podcast, Instagram and Twitter, you can hit us up at That Black Boy Joy. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or write into us, you can hit us up at thatblackboyjoypodcast@gmail.com. And like we always tell our guests, please be so in love with who you are.